It was a long time ago when this happened, and I had almost forgotten about it, until something recently brought it crashing back into my mind, and the memory returned with such clarity. It made my stomach twist, and my hands go cold. My name is Chris, and that summer I was 17 working nights at this run-down pizza place way out on the edge of my childhood hometown. The kind of job you only take because nothing else is hiring and your parents would rather see you flipping dough than sitting at home doing nothing. The place was slow. Most nights the uniform clung to you with that sour smell of melted cheese and sweat, and the delivery car we used was a tired old thing that coughed and rattled even on the smallest hills. But at least it meant I did not have to ruin my own car, though the trade-off was that the pizza was truly awful. I mean, genuinely inedible, and I never understood how anyone could order from us, and yet some people did. Maybe it was the dim glow of the little dining area, or maybe just convenience, but it was never because of the taste, and that place is still one of the things I miss the least about my hometown. The one good thing about the job was that because the pizza was so bad and the shop was so far from everything else, we rarely got orders, and the nights dragged on quiet as the grave. One night I was restocking the fridge with sodas when the tablet buzzed and up popped an order, large sausage and olive pizza, and I remember that clearly because we never got olives. It was going out past the edge of our delivery zone to a lonely patch of nowhere, and I was about to reject it when my manager, Russell, a 30-something guy who mostly sat in the back scrolling through Reddit, told me to take it since we had not had a single run in over an hour, so I did not argue when the pizza was ready. I punched in the directions on my phone, grabbed the box, and headed for the door. But then I noticed the printed delivery instructions and they stopped me cold park on the street behind the house, walk through the backyard, knock on the back door. Only it was odd, but I told myself maybe they did not want me waking a baby or an elderly parent, or maybe the front door was under repair. My 17-year-old brain found plenty of rational reasons, so I pushed the thought away. But the second I stepped outside into that night, I felt that the air was thick and heavy, with summer humidity, like walking through soup and carrying that stale, sun-baked plastic smell I hate. More than anything, it wrapped around me like an invisible film, and I rolled down the windows for barely 2 minutes before caving to the AC. The address was in the opposite direction of downtown, out past even the last scattering of houses, and the roads grew emptier and darker until the GPS told me I was there, and I realized I had arrived behind the house. There were no streetlights, no porch lights, just shadows and a sagging yard with grass up to my shins and a crooked fence hanging open, but I followed the instructions, parking on the gravel shoulder, climbing the incline with the pizza in one hand and my flashlight in the other, aiming the beam at my feet so I would not trip. The back door came into view, an old white door with a small pane of glass, covered by a cheap curtain. I knocked and waited. Nothing knocked again. Nothing, just as I raised my one hand. For the third time I saw it. The curtain twitched just a fraction, like a finger brushing it. Someone was there watching me, but they did not open the door. Instead, two unmarked cars rolled up behind mine, and a man stepped out in the glare of headlights holding something in his hand that caught the light. A badge, plain clothes, but unmistakably a cop. Motioned me over, and when I reached him, he told me to go back to my car and wait. I did, and watched as more officers emerged from the shadows. 5, maybe more, moving like hunters around prey. Silent flashlights sweeping but never announcing themselves. One tested the back door I had just knocked on, found it locked, and nodded to another like they were confirming something. After a while, the first officer returned, crouched by my window, glanced at the pizza box, and sighed. He explained there was an ongoing investigation involving the property, that they had been staking it out, and I had shown up right as they were repositioning their vehicles. He copied down the order details and told me to leave immediately. I protested, saying my boss would kill me for coming back with the pizza, but he just shrugged and repeated the order to leave. So I did the whole drive back. My mind spun, and only when I stepped out of the car did the full weight of it sink in. If the police had not been there, I might have been walking straight into something I would never walk out of. I never got an explanation, and I doubt I ever will. The second story is not from my teenage years, but just last summer. I am 40 now, married with two boys, 7 and 5, working in insurance, which is dull but steady after my dad passed from cancer. He left us a small beach house in Delaware. Nothing fancy, but 1 block from the boardwalk, with an upstairs deck that looks out at the ocean. We began spending time there each summer, making it our tradition last July. On a Wednesday night, after a day of sun and sand, the boys were asleep by 9:30, and my wife and I were on the deck, with wine and cards, when my older son Jordan came out saying he heard scratching in his room, keeping him awake. I followed him downstairs, pressed my ear to the wall, and after a moment I heard it too, faint, scratching low to the baseboards, and then the sound of slow, deep breathing. Not an animal, but a man. My blood turned to ice, and before I could react, there came a guttural scream from inside the wall. I grabbed Jordan's arm, ran to get my younger son Scott, scooping him up without waking him and sprinting for the stairs, yelling for my wife behind me. Footsteps fast and heavy, then a filthy man came charging down the hall at us. I barely made it up to the deck, slamming the sliding door just as he crashed into it, his hands smeared with something dark, clawing at the glass, his mouth opening to scream filth and threats. I leaned my weight against the door, shouting for my wife to call the police. She shielded the boys, and moments later, 2 officers burst in from the side, tackling him. They found he had been living for months in a crawl space under the porch with an access panel through Jordan's closet, stealing food and waiting for the right night to harm us. The house is sealed now, but the memory is not. The third story is from when I was 16, growing up rural, where summer nights felt like the whole earth belonged to you. My friend Taylor and I would bike out to stargaze that July night. We went further than usual to an open field with nothing but grass and sky. We spread a blanket, shared cheap wine, pointed out constellations, and laughed until I closed my eyes for a few seconds, feeling the breeze when I opened them. Taylor was gone, her bike gone too. The stars seemed dimmer, the air colder. My phone said 3 a.m., though it had been just before midnight minutes ago. Panic clawed at me. I called her name, called her phone, nothing. I biked home, terrified the next morning. She texted asking where I had gone, saying she was the one who woke at 3 a.m. to find me missing. We each remembered calling the other, but neither of our phones had any record of it, and we could not piece together how we both could vanish from each other's reality. In the same moment, we never found answers and never stargazed the same way again. Sometimes late at night, I still look at the stars and I wonder if something out there reached down and took us for just a moment before dropping us back into a world that no longer felt exactly the same.